The 10 plagues in human consciousness, according to the wisdom of Kabbalah and inner Chasidic teachings, the 10 plagues are not merely historical events, but states of consciousness that a person undergoes in life, especially when striving to uncover spiritual reality. The plagues are designed to release a person from Egypt, a state of spiritual and emotional distortion, where materialism and physicality dominate, into a state of spiritual freedom. Each plague addresses a specific distortion in the individual and connects them to spiritual correction through refining character traits and interpreting reality through inner awareness. The plague of blood, Malchut, kingdom. The distortion, the kingdom of Egypt, represents spiritual silence and inner laziness, where a person feels devoid of vitality. The plague, when the waters of life turn into blood, the person realizes there is no true vitality. In Egypt, materialism, the correction to discover that true vitality comes from the Israel within the connection to the soul. Plague of frogs, Yesod, foundation, the distortion. A distorted intellect leads to arrogance, excessive talking, and an inability to listen to others or reality. The plague, the frog, represents Tzipor Da, bird of knowledge, negative knowledge, infiltrating every aspect of life, emphasizing how uncontrolled negative speech overtakes a person. The correction, guarding the covenant, learning to listen to others and achieving inner balance. Plague of lice, Had, splendor, the distortion, a focus on excessive details that breaks apart the whole. The person fixates on insignificant details and cannot see the bigger picture. The plague, lice, symbolize incessant mental disturbances, petty thoughts that prevent unity and clarity. The correction, rising above the details to focus on the whole, building an internal temple from a place of unity. Plague of wild animals, Netzach, eternity. The distortion, a constant sense of lack, spiritual hunger and dissatisfaction, a feeling of insatiable emptiness. The plague represents an overwhelming sense of consumption and yet remaining empty. The correction, to view life from the inside, focusing on spiritual fulfillment rather than external appearances. Plague of pestilence, Tiferet. The distortion, emotions that are disconnected from spiritual ideals, lead to emotional exhaustion and depression. The plague, the death of livestock, symbolizes the collapse of emotional vitality when it serves only material desires. The correction, aligning emotions with spiritual truth, valuing authenticity and purpose over superficiality. Plague of boils, Gevura, strength. The distortion, a lack of boundaries, creates chaos and a sense of lawlessness. The plague, boils, represent the inner turmoil of needing boundaries but resisting them. This tension highlights the necessity of self-discipline. The correction, setting clear boundaries, distinguishing between right and wrong, sacred and mundane. Plague of hail, Chesed, kindness. The distortion, oversensitivity, and mixed emotions, including anger and sadness. The plague, hail, combining fire and water, represents overwhelming and conflicting feelings that flood the person. The correction, recognizing that emotions arise for refinement and not allowing them to control life uncontrollably. Plague of locusts, Binah, understanding. The distortion, distorted thoughts, and sinking into incorrect perceptions. The plague, the locusts devour all crops, symbolizing the destruction of misguided intellectual growths a person has built. The correction, escaping distorted thoughts through proper and truthful contemplation. Plague of darkness, chokmah, wisdom. The distortion, a person reaches the pinnacle of material achievements but feels a deep emptiness. The spiritual darkness, there is great light, but the person cannot perceive it. The correction, to realize that true light comes from connecting to divinity, not materialism. Plague of the firstborn. Keter, crown. The distortion, absolute egoism, where a person views themselves as the center of everything, leading to disconnection from the source of life. The consequence, this egoism leads to existential despair. The correction, to recognize that everything belongs to the Creator, to surrender oneself out of love, rather. Then despair, the 10 plagues. As a spiritual process, the 10 plagues represent a spiritual journey designed to free a person from the confines of their inner Egypt, a materialistic mindset toward a spiritual, divine consciousness. Each plague exposes an internal distortion and offers an opportunity for correction and growth. The path to leaving Egypt lies in connecting to the inner Israel, transforming the plagues into tools for building faith and spiritual elevation.
I am the rabbi known as Rabbi Kabbalah for Beginners. Please share the video, comment, and give it a like to help spread the knowledge to the public.